I'm Peter Schultz from Wealth Builder Publishing, and we have our main strategy is taking advantage of high probabilities in the options market, and that's getting the characteristics of options working for you. And I've got a little very short video for you to watch and a little special at optionssuccess.com if you want to take a look. But what I'd like to do right now is take a look at some different sectors and stocks, and actually whatever you're interested in. So go ahead and if you've got a stock that you would like to take a look at or have analyzed, let's take a look at it. And David, I'm primarily just looking at my chart here, so I guess I would have to look at chat for the
Yeah, if you
tickers.
yeah, if you just find the Zoom menu, it's you should see a chat button there. It
Okay.
might be under more.
Uh, yeah, I can see everybody on. Let me take a look here.
Do you see the Zoom menu? It's you might have to move your cursor around to the top or the
Yeah, uh I've got a few things on here, but I can't see the chat for whatever reason. Maybe I can. Yeah, I can just see the people on the call. I can't see any tickers.
Okay.
David, is there any possibility you could help me out if you can see the tickers? Just call them out and we'll take a look.
Okay, GE,
Just G,
GE.
GE. Okay, General Electric. Great. Okay, so this is what an amazing uptrend on this, incredibly consistent. And I just want to tell you my philosophy a little bit on technical analysis. So technical analysis is kind of like a vote. When people see patterns, they act on them, and the most common pattern that you'll ever see is a trending stock, and that's the one everybody agrees on. So what's interesting about the real esoteric technical analysis or the patterns that most people don't know about is if it is a voting mechanism and everybody knows what a head and shoulders looks like and the neckline on the head and shoulders gets broken, chances are really good that's going to go down because everybody recognizes that as a bearish pattern. And so what's interesting is what I've noticed, and I've really gotten into technical analysis in depth, but I've noticed that the most common patterns really tend to play out the most. So here, and we've just got a few technical indicators that are excellent. We've got a trend break right here that you can see on on GE. Once you see that trend break, especially with a really big down bar on decent volume, that's a really good sign to get out of the stock. This one looks like it's going to continue to trend lower. Doesn't really have good support until this level down here at about 212. You've got the MACD, the moving average convergence divergence, heading lower. We had actually uh, a crossover right here, which is a really good indicator. And what's cool about this is you can see that it actually came before the big down bar. So if you were trading the crossover, you would have gotten out of this probably with a really nice profit if you've been in it any length of time at all. And you've also got on balance volume. So what on balance volume does is it adds up all the up volume for the day, all the down volume, and it comes up with a moving average. So you can see, and this is really important because in the short term, the market is a voting machine. And if you see the volume heading lower, it's very difficult to sustain an uptrend in that situation. So these are just some very quick indicators to look at to kind of let you know what's going on with the stock. So I would be bearish on GE. This could even be a decent short right here. There's nothing really supporting the stock up here. If the market was to turn a little bit lower, you'd see GE go down pretty quickly, I would think, at least to this support level right here around 212. So at 235, you've got pretty substantial downside over 20 points potential. Not a bad short right here. What else do we have, David?
Um, Barb wants entry for OKLO.
OKLO. Okay, Oklo. Oh, wow. So this is one of my favorite kinds of stocks, and the reason is this is just a classic momentum stock. So what you see here is an uptrend, and say you're paying attention to the uptrend, and the uptrend starts to steepen. So that's exactly what's happened here. And when you see this kind of an uptrend and you see a little pullback, and the pullback, now here's what's interesting, the pullback does not break the uptrend. So if you see a stock that's starting to go exponential like this one, in fact, in this case, the uptrend is steepened. And when you see a stock like this, where there's an uptrend in place, the uptrend is starting to steepen, and then the stock pulls back, but it will not break this uptrend. It does not go below it. That is a prime signal to get in. You can buy the stock outright. $50 stock takes a little bit of capital. You can also do some call options. You can also sell a put spread. So these kind of momentum plays where they move pretty quickly are really excellent plays to get into with options. With options, the key is to have that movement and have it fairly quickly. You don't want to hold a short-term options position for any length of time, but with this kind of momentum, it's actually tailor-made for an options play. Um, so I like this. The minute the down or the uptrend gets broken, you want to be out of this. So you want to follow it fairly closely. If you can't watch it very closely, if you don't want to watch it very closely, this is a prime application for a trailing stop, where you just set a percentage or a certain point value, and if it retraces more than that, you're out. But anyway, we got the important thing on this is the trend, the accelerating uptrend, and this buy point right here, where it wouldn't break uptrend support and it starts to move higher. David, what else do we have?
Okay. Uh, ACHR.
ACHR.
Yeah.
Okay, Archer Aviation. Um, this is kind of interesting. This is pretty volatile to trade. But what we do see here is sort of an overall uptrend. The uniformity of the trend got broken right here. We had a pretty substantial move up. This would almost be considered a gap here, but then we have a gap down. This is a tough one. I don't know a strategy to trade this one because it can really go either way and it's pretty volatile. If it does have catalysts coming up that are causing these gaps, these pretty big moves, you could potentially do a strangler, a straddle on it with options where you could play it either direction. The problem is with this kind of volatility, when the stock is really moving higher and really gapping lower, a lot of the time the premiums are so high that it doesn't make a strangler, a straddle worth it. It's just too expensive, and you might not get the move. So this is pretty difficult to trade, Archer. If somebody's in it for the long term based on the fundamentals, that's a different story. But if you're trying to trade this one, pretty tough sledding to figure out which way it's going to go. And the moves on this one, at least percentage wise, if not dollar wise, are pretty radical. Although I will say the overall trend is higher, and at least for the past 6 months, we've actually hit a new high. So I'd say that the bias on this one's to the upside, but very difficult to see which way it's going to go next. What else do we have, David?
All right. This is this has been one of my favorites for the last 4 years. Palantir, PLTR.
Palantir Technology is very, very popular stock. As you can see, did a little analysis on this a little while back. The key here is that it broke this horizontal resistance right here. This is almost, but not quite a cup and handle. Um, we've got kind of this cup pattern right here. Typically, what you'll see once this cup is complete is a little downtrend here. This is typically the handle, and this is a bullish pattern. And what you'll see after that is you'll see some upside. So Palantir is an excellent stock. It's gotten a lot of attention lately, and to me, this one just looks like it's going to go higher. You see any kind of a pullback towards support here, and that would be a good entry position on Palantir. So you see, if you look down here at the on balance volume, There's a lot of money getting into the stock. It's just continuing to trend higher. So the buying volume is exceeding the selling volume. That's been very consistent since the stock bottomed in early April. And it's just going higher. So this is and here we've exceeded the previous highs. This is one, unless something fundamentally changes in the markets or in the stock, it looks like a really good one to trade into. I would look to buy this one on dips. Also, a really good time to buy the stock is a few weeks before earnings, where you can trade into the earnings announcement. And what I like to do is buy some call options, get them as inexpensively as you can, and then get out of those call options before the earnings are announced, because even a company can come out with great earnings and they don't quite match the whisper number. It's very hard to discern which way a stock's going to go after earnings. But with stocks like this that are very popular, that are in really good sectors that are trending higher, we typically see a ramp into earnings in anticipation. There's a lot of bullish anticipation and people buy to position themselves. You want to ride that trend and you want to be out of it before the actual announcement. This is a really, really great strategy for making some good money on stocks like Palantir. Um, what else do we have, David?
Right. Next is MSTR.
MSTR, MicroStrategy. This is the Bitcoin surrogates. Okay. So here, this is kind of big. So in terms of patterns and overall tech on this, or technical analysis, we have this classic uh, W pattern. And this is sort of the opposite of a head and shoulders. It's the bullish inverted head and shoulders. And what you want to see on this one is when this neckline is exceeded, once this happens right here, that is your invitation to get in. And you would have had a nice ride here to 340 all the way up to 420. That's a 80-point move. If you would have had options on that, you would have made an absolute fortune. And then once again, we see and we're starting to see this on a lot of stocks now. And you're going to see this show up in these patterns that we're looking at today as we start looking at stocks, especially the more popular tech stocks, the fast movers, the hyper growth stocks. We're starting to see them lose momentum. And that's starting to be reflected in the overall market. What's interesting is how resilient the market was on Friday. So we had this big airstrike, the potential of a broad conflict in the Middle East, oil going higher. All this happened on Friday when Israel hit Iran's nuclear facilities. What was interesting and instructive about Friday's price action is we didn't really break support. The S&P 500 went down. It didn't go down nearly as much as the futures indicated, bounced back fairly quickly. But what we did see, so we're not totally bearish yet, but what we did see here is a loss of momentum. And we have really strong momentum on MicroStrategy going all the way up to early May, and then the momentum just stopped. Now, this isn't like outright bearish, but with this pattern, I would really expect the stock to get back down here to support right around that 340 level. This is not looking strong here. We had another little attempt to get off the canvas. Momentum came down again. We're sort of breaking this short little uptrend. I would expect MicroStrategy to head lower. If you like MicroStrategy, if you like to trade it as a surrogate for Bitcoin, this might be an opportunity to get back to, this is really a strong support level right here at 340, where it broke this. So if it gets back down there, that might be, and wait, wait to get in until you see a bounce. But if you see a bounce off of the support level, that could make a nice bullish trade. In the meantime, I don't think there's really enough downside to take advantage of. You might want to do it with some short-term puts or perhaps a call spread. But I think the move is going to be a move higher off of support when the time comes. What else do we have, David?
All right. Next up is Apple, AAPL.
Oh, yeah. All kinds of things happening with Apple. So Apple has been a darling stock for so long, but look what's happening here. So we've got this downtrend in Apple, and this has been going on for the past 6 months. And this is kind of It's been very consistent. Now, what I want you to look at when you see price action, you want to see it confirmed down here in your indicators. So here we are below the neutral line on the MACD. So definitely trending lower. See the momentum coming off of the stock. And probably the most telling indicator is you look back actually all the way back here and virtually for the entire year since February, on balance volume has been heading lower. So Apple's got some problems right now. They still have a lot of manufacturing in China. I think the tariffs hit them kind of hard, but as you can see, Apple's been having problems long before the tariffs were announced. And some of these problems relate to their phones and the replacement cycle, and there isn't as much excitement about the new iPhones coming out as there has been. A lot of their tech announcements and some of the conferences that they have not generated the excitement. Not a lot of new product coming out from Apple. So a lot of the sizzle around Apple has started to evaporate. And then you add that into their sourcing out of China and that being impacted by the tariffs. And Apple's having some trouble here. Um, this actually doesn't it wouldn't make a bad short right here. Um, it's not going down really fast, but it's absolutely not going up. The on balance volume indicates little interest in buying on the stock. It looks to me like institutions and some of the large positioning is taking opportunities when you see a bounce back to the overhead resistance line. You're seeing it get sold. We've seen this happen consistently here. We saw it happen here, and we saw it happen here. And there's absolutely no indication that the stock is ready to bounce. We're going into kind of a slow time of the year in the summer. A lot of the real high potential, high growth stocks start to slow down a little bit. We see a rampant excitement into the July earnings, but it's kind of the lowest level of enthusiasm for the entire year and upward momentum. And then a lot of the time we see some slowing after those earnings are released in late July, August, and September. So this could be a good time to get short on Apple. Very consistent downtrend here. Um, and it's interesting because it used to be one of the great darlings. So unless they do something really eye popping here in the next few weeks or months, we're going to probably see this continue lower. David, what else do we have?
All right. SMCI.
SMCI. Super microcomputer. Yeah, this has been another one that's been pretty incredible in terms of garnering investor enthusiasm and excitement for their technology. And you can see that here in this incredible move up here. What you'll notice about these really radical moves higher. So percentage wise, this is huge. We're going from $25 a share all the way up to 60. So that's more than 100% gain. Here's what you'll notice about all these extreme momentum moves is you'll see it come down just as fast as it went up. What's interesting is it didn't immediately go all the way back down to support, but it did eventually. So the stock came down. What we see here is a base for good stocks, momentum stocks, high growth stocks. When we see a base like this, I think of it as a launching pad. That's exactly what happened. We saw a big move higher, and then what we're doing is this previous resistance here has now turned into new support. So what the stock is doing is it's building a new launching pad at this base here around $38, $40 a share. So what we're probably going to see is we're going to see this thing break out to a new, and when it does, it'll go fairly quickly. These are hard moves to catch. You can't be watching your computer and watching the stock all the time. So what I suggest is putting in a buy point here where this resistance is broken. We've got over a $5 channel here. Technical analysis tells us when this is broken, it'll move at least another $5. Based on the chart on the momentum of supercomputer, I would actually expect it to go higher. So I would say when this is broken, just put in an order. It's good till canceled. It just hangs out waiting. When this gets broken, whether you have time to watch your computer or not, at this level right here, you buy. So you either can buy the stock or you can buy some calls with a little bit of time on them. to take advantage of this move. So it's a great way to get into the stock right when it's breaking out. If it does break out of this channel, it's going to be something similar to this, where you see a pretty decent move higher. And then once you're in that position, particularly if you have a call, you want to put a trailing stop on it. So as soon as the momentum starts to fade and the stock reverses, you're out of the trade at a nice profit. But um, super microcomputer doesn't look like a buy right now because it could stay in this channel for quite a while. But the minute this overhead resistance is broken, I'd really consider getting in, taking a position. And you can do that quickly and easily with automatic orders. What else do we have, David?
Right. SMMT.
SMMT, Summit Therapeutics. Okay, this is a biotech. And once again, we have just these incredible moves that can happen in these stocks based on news. And what's interesting is, and once again, we often see this, when these things go up, they go up quick. And when they reverse, when everybody decides to take their profits, I mean, look at this. We went from 22 to 36. So just a huge percentage move in the stock, comes down, tries to get off the mat. And then ever since, we've been trending lower. What I would expect on this one is some consolidation, sideways move until the next big news announcement. And the tough thing about these kind of stocks is they're often driven by news. One little piece of news can make a huge difference for the company, and then you see it shoot back higher again. And once again, just like our last stock that we looked at, the way to play this is to, once you identify some basing action, once you identify a channel that the stock is moving within, and this is too early on this one, but if it starts to move within this channel, then you can identify an overhead resistance trigger to get in for the next upside move. Because based on looking at the stock, seeing this price action back here, seeing this price action back here, when this thing does start to move, it moves so fast it's hard to get in. So this is where automatic orders really make a lot of sense. So when that resistance level gets tripped, you're in. You're in with a position. David, what else do we have?
Right. NVIDIA and NVDA.
Oh, everybody's favorite. So what an incredible stock and company. So I'm glad you brought this one up. This is one we recommend. In fact, these are charts that I actually use in our trading service. Our subscription trading service comes out Tuesday evenings. We typically sell a credit spread or underneath. In this case, on a bullish stock like this that's trending higher, we'll sell a put spread. And what's beautiful about this NVIDIA is we've got a nice uptrend here. And we also, in this case, when we did this trade, this had bounced off of this horizontal support. We sold this put spread under two levels of support. So we have uptrend support, we have horizontal support. You always want that for safety. We were just under it. And you can see what happened. So this just expired this past Friday, even though we saw this little downtick in the stock, which was not much based on the breakout of war in the Middle East and the Israeli attack on Tehran and their nuclear facilities. We just saw a little downtick in the stock. That's an indication that this thing is pretty bullish. And NVIDIA is. I mean, I don't think there's a company out there that has better fundamentals and better prospects for the future. Here's the problem, and I think NVIDIA is representative of the overall market. I think this is a really good indicator. What we're seeing here is a loss of momentum. So if you just look at the last week or so of trading, we're kind of caught in a sideways channel. We have a pretty nice uptrend here. As you can see, last Thursday, actually last Wednesday, this uptrend got broken. And even though we had an up day on Thursday, it couldn't really make it higher. It's hovering around that point today, but we're not seeing a lot of good volume on the stock. The volume is kind of peaked out. It hasn't gone down yet, but it could based on the MACD. So on the MACD, you see a crossover right here. You see where the histogram has turned from bullish, from green to bearish. And we have a little bit of a turn down. So we've got a loss of momentum on NVIDIA. It doesn't just concern me about NVIDIA. It concerns me about the whole tech sector. I don't think we're going to get a crash. This isn't a huge storm warning here. But I think if you're looking for a momentum play and you're looking for that upside, when you see this loss of momentum, it's a good indicator to step aside. I think on the video, we could see a little bit of downside here, maybe just contained within this channel, but I don't think it's a good uptrender right now. I think once it finds support and you see that bounce, you see some of this coming back up again, that'll be a good time to take a position. NVIDIA has made a lot of money for a lot of us. It's a great stock, but that doesn't mean that it's immune to timing, especially if you're taking short-term leverage positions. You want to kind of get the timing in your favor. And we can go back and we can see where this bounce right here was a great time to get in on NVIDIA, and that played out and continued to play out. This bounce right here, where we came down, it retraced a little bit, came back down, and we're sitting right here on the uptrend line. And then we saw that bounce. A great time to get involved. NVIDIA is a great stock, but you really still have to pay attention to the chart and the technicals on it. And I think it's an indicator that the tech sector and a lot of this momentum is starting to go out of the market. Seasonally, this is a typical time that happens. So kind of in mid-June here, it's still going to be a couple of 3 weeks or so before we start to see any earnings coming out. This is a typical kind of a doldrum time, and we're seeing that in this loss of momentum. What else do we have, David?
Right. Uh, CRWV.
CRWB.
WV.
V.
Yeah. CRWV.
CoreWeave. So this is another really popular stock. This is interesting. So this is another example of this loss of momentum. So we see not just an uptrend here, but we see sort of this exponential increase, and then all of a sudden we're seeing some topping action and a loss of momentum, and that's what we've got right now. So even though CoreWeave's done really, really well since bottoming in mid-April or so, we're actually in a horizontal pattern right now. We're seeing the MACD head lower. We're seeing a little bit of weakness in the volume, and we're seeing an actual crossover in the moving averages on the MACD right in here. I'd be cautious on this one. I think it'll probably trade sideways along with the rest of the market for a little while. So if we take a look at more momentum stocks, I think we'll see this pattern play out, that we're seeing a loss of momentum. Time to start getting a little bit cautious and only trading those positions that really have some strong upside. And once again, if you want to see how we trade, and I've got a really short video that really stacks the odds in your favor, and that's at Option Success. I've also got a couple of specials there that I think you'll like. There are some huge discounts on some really good packages. Do we have time for one more, David, or where are we at?
Oh, yeah, I think we could do one IONQ.
IONQ. So this is one of my favorite spaces. So this is quantum computing. There's only about 4 pure plays in this area. And once again, you see some pretty consistent upside. I mean, this was really going. And then NVIDIA came out, the CEO, and said, quantum has a lot of potential. I think it's finally arrived. A lot of these stocks went straight up, came straight back down again, and now it's broken its uptrend. What we'll typically see once this uptrend momentum gets broken and uptrend support gets broken, you'll see a lot more downside on the stock. So I think this one's actually headed lower. I'm going to show you one of my favorites. I got into this one quite a while ago. I've been selling shares. This is quantum computing. So if you're into quantum computing, this is this is a pure play on it. They just opened their fab plant down in Tempe, just got an upgrade, and just turned a loss from last year into a $17 million revenue at their earnings announcement last week. And you can see the effect it's having on the stock. This one still has some strong upside momentum. I think this momentum could take us in the mid 20s, still tradable. And then you're going to see inevitably this super sharp reverse lower. So you can get in on this, take advantage of some of the momentum to the upside, but you want to get out fairly quickly once that plays out. And I think that's our time, David. It's been delightful to be with you and take a look at these charts. I always love to see what you're looking at. There's some great momentum plays that we've seen out there, and now that momentum's starting to play out a little bit. Time to step aside and wait for the next setup.